Thursday. Welcome to the
Yes.
Audacity School podcast.
Welcome, everyone.
Yes, it's been a long time, but we are back after
Mhm.
our long hiatus. Not that long. We had the holidays and just kind of getting
Mhm.
back into the year. But you all that have watched us have seen us starting last October, coming at you every week. And so we are back. The Audacity School is
Yes.
back. Yay. And so,
No.
yeah, we are here to empower women of color and leadership to embrace their power and potential. And I am one of your hosts, Desiree Cocroft with Destination Life. And I have with me the ever inspiring.
Listen, you're the one. I'm Erica Lynette, founder and CEO of Divine Mint. So we are so glad to have you here. I mean, it really has been a while, Desiree. I mean, since
Yes,
Unleashed and Unapologetic, since
I
we
know,
rolled that
right?
out. But yeah, we are definitely so glad to be back. And of course, we want to, we really just want to relaunch this whole podcast because there's definitely a need out here,
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that we really keep that conversation going, going through our four pillars of
Yeah.
alignment, authenticity, audacity, and then of course acceleration. So yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited because we had a lot of great conversations in the fall. And
Hmm.
yeah, we've been talking a lot offline, trying to figure out, how we want to continue to keep the conversation going. So we're
Yeah.
excited about doing that with you all today. And so we want to do a little rewind, a little review. We want to do a little review because if you recall, last time we talked about what Erica just talked about, those four
Mhm.
pillars. And we want to just revisit our four pillars because this year we'll be talking about our four pillars, but we're going to talk about a lot of topics that have to do with like the skills that are needed to really actualize these four pillars in your regular life and in your professional life. So we want to do a little review. So this is like our
Yeah.
review session. So if you haven't been following us, you're learning it for the first time. But if you have, then you can get this review session. We'll see how much you remember. But we're going to talk a little bit first about the power of alignment. So we really believe that it's all about aligning your personal and your professional life with your core values. And as both of us being women of color in our professional lives, it's been so important to us as we want to excel in our professional careers as well as our personal ones to really find that alignment. And that helped us be successful in the areas that we desire to work in. And so we know that that's easier said than done, though, right, Erica?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. It is. And when I was thinking about alignment, is of course that brings to mind some, a story. We all have different stories that we can share, but thinking of a time when I wasn't aligned, it's like, I was in a position at, in corporate America where I was pretty much just going through the motions, doing a job that was paying the bills, had a great salary, but it really wasn't fulfilling my purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's really a tough place to be in because, do you stick with just making the money, or do you truly do something that fuels you each and every day? And so
Yeah.
that's really what, turned into this whole platform of Divinement for me. But it's so important to be able to, self-reflect and take some time to really understand what your why is, so that you can make sure that you are in alignment.
Yeah, and when you don't have your why and you don't have that alignment piece happening
Hmm.
in your career, it has you kind of feeling out of place in your
Absolutely.
career,
Yep,
right?
it does.
Yeah, out of your place in your career, out of place in your life, and it doesn't allow you to really show up at your best. And I
Right.
know we all can relate to a time when it felt like we were doing something that didn't feel connected to our
Hmm.
values or connected to
Hmm.
where we wanted to go. And it really keeps you from showing up as your greatest self. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can even be in that space, right, Erica, of
Hmm.
being in the right place, but just not making the connections because you're not
Exactly.
doing that. Yeah,
Exactly. And you
yeah,
brought up a good point just a second ago, because you said, doesn't just impact you professionally. I mean, this impacts you personally as well.
hmm,
Alignment is not just a career based thing. It's something that definitely carries over into your personal life. So,
yeah.
hmm.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when people are not finding their joy or fulfillment
Yeah.
at work, sometimes we can say that it can be a lot of different things.
Hmm.
I've had clients, and I'm sure you worked with people too, Erica, that have said it's been so many things. It's the manager, it's
Right.
being misunderstood. It can be all those things, which is fine and well, because then it helps you know, like, okay, well, maybe I'm not in a place that's aligned to what I
Right.
desire, what's going to help
Yeah.
me grow, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so alignment is so important. So we really want you to take a moment this week, right? Take some
Yes.
time this week and really think about, what are some of your values?
Mm-hmm.
Whether your current path aligns or not, it's really important for us to align to what our values are in the first place. We don't always take the time to consider what are our values in the season that we're in right now.
Exactly.
And how is my career path helping me stay aligned to those values? So take a moment and think, like, what are some of the values I have right now? And if you're listening right now, drop it in the chat.
Yes. Yeah.
Drop it
You
in
know
the
what they
chat.
are.
If you're looking at
Absolutely.
this right now, or if you're just listening to that, leave us some feedback on the podcast and let us know, what are some of the values that you have right now? How is that connecting to you, helping you get better aligned with it? And we would love to hear your insights either now or later as we continue to talk about alignment, because this is our review session, you all.
Yeah.
So we'll be revisiting this in so many different ways, right, Erica?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, before we move on, I love what you said about the season, because our values can definitely change or evolve, I should say.
Yeah.
They can definitely evolve depending on what season we're in. And so I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah. But no, it's I'm glad that resonated with you, because when I think about what season that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times if we are in a season that we're feeling low, it's a great time to reconnect and know that, is this the place for me in this season anymore? Or
Right.
am I shifting out of it? Am I growing out of this position? Am I growing out of this company? Am I growing out of this field? Am I growing out of, working a 9 to 5? Do I need something that's different? And sometimes we can spend so much time blaming all the things, but if we connect to our values, sometimes we can honestly say, like, this is not the place for me. This is not the position for me. This is not where I need to be right now. Or on the contrary, this is the place for me, but things that are going on in my personal life, I'm not in a great alignment with, and it's affecting my work. And sometimes people don't like to talk about that part.
Right.
But sometimes it's not
real.
The job.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we want to hear your insight. So what's our next pillar, Erica? Yeah.
So the next one is authenticity. That's our next pillar. And, that's really the essence of leadership, because, when we talk about being authentic, we're talking about, showing up as your true self, and, not who you think you should be, but really showing up as who you really are. So that's what's really important about the authenticity piece.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, when I think about us moving into a place of authenticity, it's really, it's like the essence, right, of true leadership and standing in your greatness. And it's powerful when I've seen leaders transform their leadership, because they are like really stepping into their authenticity. And I think it gets a bad rep, like authenticity doesn't mean that you're sharing every single little thing about yourself.
Exactly. No, it doesn't.
It's not like word vomit.
Right, exactly.
When you're sharing things just to feel like you're sharing, or it's not making everyone your friend and everyone being, like someone that likes you and that makes you authentic. I think it is being really okay with who you are, right? More okay that you are with who you are, and okay with flaws and all that come with making decisions and being a leader. I really admired seeing leaders that can be okay when something is done and they own it, right? Something is done or said and they own it, and how much it positively impacts their team, and how it actually helps them give themselves permission to make mistakes. Because a lot of times, leaders, and especially, women of color, we've been taught to do more work to just get seen a little bit, or, we have to work overtime to be better and all of that. And so it's something to be said when we kind of release ourselves from some of those things that have been projected on us, and be able to authentically be ourselves, and do it in a way that it still makes us feel very much like ourselves, and exude and receive the respect that we ought to receive in the first place. And sometimes when I've seen, not sometimes, but a lot of times when I've seen leaders step into that authenticity, being truly themselves, not worried about some of the things that I know have been projected on them
Yeah,
over
not code
time.
switching, none of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
being who you are. There's just
Hmm.
something in that, and I think it allows and inspires others to be the
Yeah.
same and to really help them foster an environment of trust and like positivity in their workspace when it's done not from a place of like rudeness, because I think some people can be, they call it authenticity, like, oh, I'm being real, I'm being authentic, but you're being rude, which is, I think, is
Right.
different than
There's a
being,
huge difference. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
authentic. Yeah. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that, Erica?
Well, I mean, I love authenticity because when you are authentic, then you can have more authentic conversations, and then your team, assuming that you have a team, they sense that. People can sense when you're being real, when you're being genuine.
Right, right.
And so that just leads to greater outcomes for an organization, even team dynamics. How
Mhm.
everyone gets along. There's more. It helps to build more trust. So all of those things really help to, better the environment all the way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't go wrong with authenticity at all.
Not at all. Listen, not at all. And especially if you want not just to be able to, feel like you can be yourself when you're walking in spaces, but it also,
Yeah.
again, it like really helps to build that culture. And I think that
Hmm.
one of the biggest indicators of authenticity to me is when people, again, kind of being honest about their mistakes or honest about their intent and
Yes.
why they're changing things or
Yeah.
moving things around with their team and being able to be real about why things are happening. I think it takes
Hmm.
a lot of vulnerability and authenticity to be able to state why something is changing in your organization or why you're making a change to, policy or having to
Hmm.
address something that you made a decision about that didn't go well.
Right.
And I respect it versus, there's been,
Exactly.
I know we've all probably viewed people that have thrown people under the bus or
Oh yeah.
acting like something wasn't wrong, or there's an elephant in the room that nobody's acknowledging. So
Hmm.
there is just something about people stepping into that elephant and being like, hey, this is what it is, and
Right.
being able to still galvanize people
Hmm.
regardless. That
Hmm.
is like boss level work to me.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned, respect. I was thinking about that, and you said it because, when you are authentic, that's just going to be a natural outcome. Your team is going to have more respect for you. You'll have, more respect for each other. So
Yeah,
that's very important. Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
So,
Yeah,
as we think about authenticity, we would just challenge you, to think about something, think about a way that you can be more authentic, or lead more authentically, this week. What's one thing that you can do? If you have an idea now, you can go in and put it in the chat. If you need some time to think about it, take a little bit of time, and then, next week when we come back on, feel free to, put it in the chat when we get started. But, take a minute to think about how you can lead more authentically, and just kind of create that environment where you are.
yeah, I love that. That's a great call
Yeah.
to action. Just making that commitment, right? How can
Hmm.
you make that commitment to yourself, to your
Yeah.
team, to those that you are in community with? And it
Hmm.
takes like one day at a time and one moment at a time when we've had experiences that have made us shrink from
Exactly. Oh yeah.
being
Yeah.
authentic or sharing ourselves. And some of it goes, and we're not therapists, but some of it goes to childhood. You know what I mean? Like
That's true.
afraid to share pieces of information or afraid to be wrong because of
Hmm.
what we think the backlash will be. And so being able to connect with, how it's more powerful to kind of step into those things and to kind of
Yeah.
be afraid of them, it just does something different to you. So no, I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Well,
Yeah.
our next pillar is like the essence of, it's our namesake. It's the name of
It
this
is.
podcast. It's the name of this brand. It's our overall call to action. It is the essence of audacity. So audacity is our
Mhm.
third pillar. So you got alignment, you got authenticity. And so now we're talking about the essence of audacity. And it's really about making bold moves even when they're unconventional moves, when they're risky moves, and when there are things that kind of go against the grain. We're talking about
Mhm.
like this is what we think is the kind of like the cornerstone, but it only happens really well when you're in a place of alignment. You know your purpose, you know what you're
Yes.
supposed to be doing. You're able to step into your fullest self authentically in those spaces. And what it does is, just like we were talking about when it comes to authenticity, it allows you to be bold. It allows you the space to do things unconventionally, do things that you probably wouldn't have done otherwise. What kind of examples do you have, Erica?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the one thing that came to mind for me was, this was early on in my career when I started in corporate America. I was going for the next position up. I had started as like a project manager, but I was applying for the next position up. And I was so excited because I had been waiting for the position to become available.
Yeah.
Well, when I applied for it, I was told after the fact that you had to have a nursing degree, but that was not in the job description. I was not a nurse at all.
At all.
Shout out to all the nurses. I was definitely
right. They're killing it.
But I was told after I applied that the person we're looking for, they need to have a nursing degree. And I said, well, that was not in the job description. And they said, oh, well, we know, that was our error, but you can go on and withdraw your application. And I said, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I would not do that. And they had the director come and speak to me. They had the hiring manager come speak to me. They had the assistant VP come speak to me to try to get me to withdraw my application, because they knew that they were going to be in some big trouble if they tried to, push something that was not listed there.
Right.
And so ultimately what happened, I stood my ground. I was like, I'm not moving. I'm not going to, remove my application. And they ended up having to create a position for me.
Wow.
Yeah, because otherwise it was about to be an HR blow up, because that's not what they put in the job description. And they were trying to tell me something different. I think they had someone else in mind. They didn't expect, me to apply, but yeah, I ended up getting what I wanted, by just standing my ground.
That's amazing. That is amazing. When you think about that, is there something that you would have done differently, or are you like, what, I would have did it all the same?
I think I would have done it all the same. I was nervous at first, but then I said, I look back at the job description. I'm like, well, maybe there's something I missed, because, you kind of start questioning yourself sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe there was something that I missed. And then I said, no, I didn't miss anything. They were trying to get someone in particular in a position, and I guess they opened it up. I must have gotten in before that person did, but yeah, I just stood my ground. So no, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Mm-mm.
Wow, that is amazing. But I mean, that like the kind of almost that end game, right? Knowing who you are, knowing that this was something that was for you, and just not taking no for an answer when it's not on you. So many things can make you feel like something's wrong with you for saying a thing.
You start questioning,
you start questioning yourself, like, okay, well, maybe it's me. Did I read it right? It's like, no, this is right. And and sometimes, especially as women, I think that sometimes we can feel like, oh, I really don't want to cause any noise, and especially women of color, being seen as someone that may make too much noise, or is too loud, or is trying to do too much, all these stereotypes or things or stigmas that have been put on women of color. And so sometimes we won't be that because we're afraid to look like that.
Exactly.
It's like it's been tainted to look like, it's rudeness, but it's like speaking up for yourself is not rude. Advocating for yourself is not rude. Being bold to question something that wasn't right, that's not being rude, but it can be looked at as rude by those that don't want you to question them.
Exactly. Feel threatened.
When others feel threatened. And so I think even more so, it's important for us to really step into those spaces and being able to communicate those things with some gravitas, because there's no way I have to be rude or what have you, when the gravity of what I'm saying and who I am alone is enough.
Exactly.
Because I can imagine you would have some gravity on that. Like, even the way you said it, you were very certain. And it's something about certainty that moves people.
That's true. And it was risky. I mean, it was definitely risky. It was early on in my career. I mean, I think I may have been out of college a year, and it was just a different time back then. That's one thing I love about this generation now. They speak up. They will speak up. Back then it was a little. You were just careful. We were very careful. Played it safe. So it was risky for sure.
Yeah, yeah, but you did that. I love
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Did that. So if you are listening to the replay, or if you are, listening to this on our podcast, or if you're on right now, we would love to, hear your thoughts, either now or, later when you come back. We really want you to think of, like, if you have an audacious goal you've been really hesitating on pursuing. Ooh, if you're brave, would love to see what that goal is. You can throw that in the chat. But if not, it's okay. But what would be your first step? Maybe you don't want to share that goal. Maybe it's just too big of a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. Maybe it's too big of a goal to put down, and you're not ready for that part. But okay, could you at least share that step, right? What's the step you'll take toward, actually pursuing that goal, right? And that step can be just that one way for you. Writing it down or saying it out loud might give you the courage to even, actually make that step happen. Sometimes it's the writing of the goal, or just writing it out, saying it out loud that you're going to do it. That will cause you to do it, because a lot of times people won't say it, or we don't write it down, because we say to ourselves, I'm going to be someone that is not authentic, or someone that's a fraud if I don't do what I said I was going to do. So we won't write it and we won't say it, because we don't want to look like we're being a hypocrite for not doing it. But it's like, go into it, like saying it and writing it is half the battle. Like, get it out there. So what if you don't do it the first time? Just keep saying it and doing it until it actually happens. It doesn't hurt you anyway. And it doesn't make you a hypocrite. It makes you human, because change is difficult. Change is a challenge.
And
but
that
we
first
all
step,
have done
a lot of times.
Yeah.
That first step is usually the hardest.
Yep. 100%. Okay, what's our last one, Erica? It's time is always going fast with us. I know.
When the conversation is so good, that's how it goes. So our last pillar is acceleration, and that's about, rapid advancement, rapid growth. And it's not just about, the professional space. It's about, rapid advancement and growth, both personally and professionally. So, we want to make sure that we take our personal lives into account here as well, because there's a lot of synergy there. So when we talk about acceleration, it's the holistic view of that.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that acceleration can take place, and one of the ways that we can accelerate ourselves is by seeking mentorship. Right, when we have mentorship in our life, game changer. Right, it's game changer to have mentorship. And mentorship can look a lot of different ways. Like, I have coaches that are also a mentor to me, but they actually coach me. A mentor in and of itself is someone that looks like, that has the path and looks like the way that you would like to kind of pursue that path. And so I'm seeking them to get the same, tips, the path that they've been on. Right. And so it's like, how can we accelerate ourselves? But if we don't have audacity, if we're not aligned to who we are, we can't be authentic, we won't even seek out mentorship. We won't even seek out that board of directors. We won't seek out those champions that can talk to people in rooms that we've never been in, because we don't have the audacity. We don't have the authenticity. We don't have that alignment to go to them and be clear. In my book, I talk a little bit about mentorship, and I talk about, like, a lot of times we don't know what to do with a mentor. And the biggest way to fast track that is this alignment and authenticity, because the more that we can get aligned, then we know what we're asking for. Many times we admire things about people, and we know that there's something about them that we desire, but we have not articulated that to ourselves or connected it to our goals and values. And because we haven't, it makes us afraid to talk to them, or when we do get them, we don't know how to use them, and not use them to use them up, but we don't know what we want from them. And so people have a lot of, that's great. Not to let, because we end up ghosting. And even being someone that people have asked to mentor them, it's like, I have always been open, but I'm very clear that it's like, you have to know what you desire, because I can't figure that out. You need to know what you want, because so many people actually want to help. I desire to help. I know you and others, and people desire to help us. But the more that we can be clear about what we desire, they can know how they can help us, and then they can make the decisions to do so or not do so. But when we leave things in the air, it doesn't help
Mm-hmm.
them, help us. So the impact of mentorship can be explosive. It's
Absolutely.
really about that leveraging those resources, those networks to fast track your growth, but you got to know what you desire with them.
Right, right. And I was thinking
Mhm.
about something, Desiree, and hadn't thought about this before, but I would even suggest therapy as
Mm,
an example of acceleration because, just as a mentor does exactly what you just said, I think there's a role with therapy and truly just knowing yourself that
yeah,
can help you advance, that can help you get to that place of rapid growth. When
right.
of course, we talk about alignment, and that's where we want to be before we, or that's where we have to be before we can get to a place of acceleration. But I would almost think that therapy can be another example of that to help us even get there, even I don't even say faster necessarily, but
Yeah.
at a good pace, where we truly
Okay.
do know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what our
Mhm.
challenges are, things that are deeply rooted that we hadn't dealt with, so that we can get that stuff out of the way and address it so that we
Yeah.
can move forward, quicker.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I mean, there's so many different professionals that can be a big part of like our accelerating our growth, like
Absolutely.
mentorship, like therapists, therapy, like coaching, like consultants,
Hmm.
like all of the like a circle, just a team around you that can really help you. And so it's so
Right.
important that we make sure that we have that potential team of people around us so that they can help accelerate our growth. And us having
Yes.
those other things done, or revisiting them, because I don't know if it's ever really done, but if we
Right.
revisit some
That's
of those
true.
things, that helps us
Right.
know who that we need now. It's like that book, not how but who. The
Hmm.
book not how about who is. I think the same thing with accelerating our growth. When we know what we need, then it's like, okay, who do I need in my life, right?
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
and plan accordingly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, when we look at acceleration, as far as what we would, challenge you to do this week is, reach out. If you have a mentor, reach out to that mentor. If you're mentoring someone, you might be a mentor yourself. If you're
Mm.
mentoring them, check in with them, and just share what you've learned. Share something that can help them, move forward, or either challenge them. If you have a mentee who has not come to you and identified what it is they want to work on, maybe challenge them to do so. So that you can
Mm.
have more, effective results and conversations.
No, I love that,
Yeah.
especially the mentoring others. Like typically,
Hmm.
some people, feel guilty about finding mentorship because they
Mm.
haven't necessarily sowed that seed. But it's something about
Yeah,
when you are doing that for others, you have room to ask for
that's
help
right.
and it's okay.
And we
I
all
love
do.
that.
We all need
We
help. Yeah.
do. We do. We do.
Hmm.
So we're already at this conclusion. Like we're
Wow.
wrapping this up because we only have a few minutes left. We try to keep this really short, knowing that it's a work day. We
Yeah.
want to give this like
Yes.
short and sweet for you all. But that's really going to be our wrap for our review of our pillars today. We really want you
Hmm.
to remember it's about embracing alignment, authenticity, audacity, and
Yeah.
acceleration in every aspect of your life.
Yes, yes, and we just
Mhm.
want to encourage you to be more audacious. This is definitely a journey. It's not a check the box situation. This is
Mhm.
something that we're constantly refining, constantly building
Yeah.
upon. So
Mhm.
continue to be audacious. If you haven't before, this is a good time to start.
Yeah.
It's not too late to start. So don't forget. Remember to share your stories with us here in the chat. Again, if you need a little bit of time to think about it, come back next week. We would love to see, what insights you gained over the week and share those with us, at that time. But we look forward to, just you joining in with us next week, because next week we are going to
Yes.
be
Talk
talking
about it.
about, yes, yes, we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome. And that's going to be a
Woo!
great conversation. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Me too.
Yes.
That's a cliffhanger you just left us with here.
Oof. Where are
Navigating
you going to go next?
imposter
Where are you
syndrome,
going to go? Where are
right?
you going to lead us with that?
Like I've been watching all these drama series lately, so I'm like
Right.
cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Oh,
But yes,
awesome.
thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, I'm Eric Lynette with Divinement, and this is the fabulous
Desiree with Destination Life. And this has been the Audacity School podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember to lead with audacity. We will see you next week, Thursday.